Okay, now you can hear me. I'm back.
Okay.
Excellent. Now, we're going to continue. And we're going to start with the little activity that I had asked you to do. We have a number of things we need to get through before 2 o'clock today. Everybody on? Did Vanessa come in at all? Vanessa, are you there out there in Radioland, in cyberspace? Vanessa isn't there. All right, Ashley, are you back? I see Jason, I see Eva. Eva, it's Eva or Ava? I can't remember. Which one is it?
It's Ava.
It's Ava, all right.
But people call it all kinds of things. That's fine.
No, I want to get it right. But I couldn't remember, you know. Age is just a number, but it's really messing me up.
Yeah, that's okay.
Tracy had to leave early. I'm not sure. Tracy, are you still there? She had said she was going to leave early.
Yeah, I'm here till like half hour before the end.
All right.
And I apologize for that. It was something I couldn't get out of.
No, that's fine. I had seen it. And Samuel and Linton? Samuel, oh, Linton.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. Excellent. All right. Linton, not hearing you, not seeing you. You've disappeared on me? He's not yet back. All right, let's continue with trying to determine which of these are the 3 E's. Where would we put number 1? In terms of the 5 E's, the 3 E's that we have in the middle. So we have explore, explain, and elaborate. Okay?
Doctor, I can't see your screen.
Oh, you can't see my screen. Why
it's
can't
just a blank. It's just black.
Oh, it's black. All right, let's.
I can see it.
You can see it?
I can see it.
Oh, Jason, I don't know how to help you, my dear. But what you could do is you go into the...
Yeah, I have the document actually, so that's fine.
All right, I'm not quite sure why the screen is like that, though. I have no idea. But number 1, show a short film on the solar system, asking students to pay particular attention to the planets. Where would that be? Explore, explain, or elaborate?
Ashley from Bermuda. I put that under explore.
Yes. Anybody has it in any other place?
I said explain.
Who is this now? Tracy?
Yeah, that was me, yes.
Why would you put that? Why would you justify why you say explain? Remember, explain, in the explain phase, students explain their understanding of concepts and processes, or the teacher could provide this explanation. Why would this not be explain?
I obviously had the definition wrong. Could you repeat the definition?
Explain, students explain their understanding of concepts and processes. In the explore phase, objects and phenomena are explored, hands-on activities are used as guides, that sort of thing.
Okay, thanks.
So would you still stick with explain, or would you be likely to move it to explore?
I think I'll move it to explore, thanks.
Yes, it seems more explore than explain. Anybody else disagrees? Good? Yeah, that's more explore than explain. Samuel, can't see you, so I'm going to ask you questions. Ask students to name the planets that were mentioned in the film. Where would you put that?
So I put down the explain because the teacher is trying to see whether the student understand the concepts.
Yes, yes. Anybody else put it anywhere else?
I put it under explore.
Yes, tell me why. Tell me why.
Well, just because they're still exploring. I don't know. I mean, they're not sure what a planet is yet, but they're just basing off whatever their knowledge, their prior knowledge is, I guess, or
yes.
they're picking they're choosing
Yes.
from the things that they saw in the film.
Yes.
But,
and they may or may not be real planets. Based on what they name, then they may not be. I see the point that you're making, and it's
like it hasn't been explained to them yet what a planet is, I don't think.
Right, and it's a good point, because that's exactly it. Because the exploration phase, in that phase, the students will be given an opportunity to look at various phenomena. Yeah, they may be saying, I think this is what it is. You may have some suggestions as to what it possibly could be. But in this phase, in the explain phase, what you're doing is you're clarifying for the student. The student may clarify, or the teacher may clarify. But at this point, if you're going to take these steps, as you have suggested, Jason, having watched the film, students may not really come away with a clear understanding of which ones are really planets, and they may name things that are really not planets. And it is beyond this that the explanations will come. Why is this not a planet? And why is this one a planet? So I could see where you could put 2 in the explore phase, and I'm tending to agree with it being the explore and not in the explain phase. All right. Now 3 says, use a large 3-dimensional model of planets, sun and moons. Demonstrate.
Sorry, Professor, Dr.
Yes, Ashley.
Rainford. Yes, thanks. I put it under the, what did I write? I put it under 2 as under expand.
Expand.
Okay. Like elaborate, I guess.
Yeah, tell me why.
Teachers,
tell me why you put it there.
It says teachers are like challenging the students' understanding of whatever they just learned. So students apply their understanding. I guess it's not an application, but they're still, the teachers are still like looking for the students to be able to give back some of the concept that they just learned.
Okay, now that's an interesting point that you have made, and I'm gonna agree with you because of this. In other words, let me explain to you why I think it could be expanded depending on the sequence. Let us take Jason's position that they have watched the film, and they're asked to pay attention to planets, and then they're asked to say, what are these planets that we saw in this film? They haven't quite yet clarified, or it hasn't yet been clarified, made clear what really are planets. But suppose, so from that perspective, Jason's position that the number 2 would fit better under explore is well taken. But your position is also well taken. Let us assume that students had been given some, and this is the only way it could be. Students already know, they have an understanding of what we mean by planets. So you had perhaps gone through, let's look back at the introduction. In the introduction, they are being sensitized. There is no point where they have defined the planets and how they relate to the solar system. So this is very rudimentary, very elementary, still very open. But let us assume that students had come away from the introduction with a clear understanding of what we mean by planets and perhaps some examples of planets, meaning you had perhaps taken a more deductive approach to instruction. Then, having looked at the film, you can now ask the students to tell us what are the planets there. you could now, this could now then be in the expand or in the elaboration phase of your lesson, because they already have a concept. They are already clear on what we mean. So you can now say, okay, now let's apply it now to this film. Let us see if you can identify. You see what I'm saying, Ashley? So it might well be, but it is dependent on the sequence of activities, the sequence of steps. All right? But as if we're taking them as steps 1, 2, and 3, then this step 2, logically couldn't be elaborate, because one would have had to assume that students already have a concept of what we mean by planets. Do you understand? Do you get my point?
Yes.
Yes. Samuel, you have something to say?
Yes. The way I saw it when I was reading it is the step 1 is an activity, and the student got the concepts.
Mm-hmm.
They have the understanding of what's the solar system.
Mm-hmm.
So the step 2 is the teacher is now trying to see clarification
Mm-hmm.
for the student to explain what they got from the concepts. So to me, it's not like students are explaining their understanding of planet from number 1 that gave the understanding of what's the solar system.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So that's my understanding of where the teacher is now demanding an explanation of what a planet is, since they understood from 1 what is the solar system.
All right, look at 4 then and tell me, and go back to your explanation just now. Look at point 4 and tell me if you still hold to that view. All right, he smiles. Yes, Samuel. Yes, so you still hold to your view. But I didn't hear what you just said. I didn't hear the comment that you made, but I'm pretty sure that you're recognizing that you had missed this. Okay, so it is actually at 4 and 5 that they are explaining.
Can I ask one thing about that same one? If we ever get past.
Yes, Tracy. Go ahead, Tracy.
I thought 2 was an evaluation, like the teacher finding out what they learned, like a formative evaluation.
All right, and it could serve that role as well, if formative. But if you think about the 5E model, the evaluation in this really speaks primarily to the outcome at the end. This number 1 is, like I said, it's elementary. They're just exploring. They're just beginning to think about what it is that they're learning. All right, and so you ask them to think about it some more at 2 and 3 as well. All right. In the evaluation phase, students should assess their knowledge, their skills and abilities, and activities permit evaluation. So you can use activities to evaluate. And so your point about a formative evaluation, I could hold that. I could, because pretty much is what you're asking them right here. So it's formative evaluation, which comes at, in the middle of it, at the beginning, right? And so if you're going to say that, if you're gonna do that, the assumption is that you have built formative evaluation right throughout the sequence. So I can see your point. I mean, I wouldn't knock it. It's a valid point. All right. because you have to ask questions of students as they go through the lesson. So it is formative, but it is not summative. All right. And in the 5E model, it, like I said, it really speaks mostly to summative, but you can in fact use formative. So I wouldn't, I don't have a problem there. All right. So now 3 and 4, not 3 and 4. 3, where would you have 3?
Ashley from Bermuda, I
Yes,
put it
Ashley.
under explain.
Using a large 3-dimensional model of the planets, sun and moons, demonstrate how planets orbit around the sun. All right. So anybody else has it anywhere else? Anybody else? Does anyone have it somewhere else?
I initially had it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I had it under elaborate, but I think I've misunderstood this whole 5E, which is a bad thing at this point, but I had it under elaborate.
It's not a bad thing at this point. It's a good thing at this point. I mean, no, you can clarify the misunderstandings. That's fine. This is why this is here. Yes. Well, you were saying you had it under elaborate, but you don't recognize that you may have had a problem. Jason, you were saying?
I was going to say I had it initially where I actually said under explain, but then I was just thinking that it could be under explore after the discussion we were just having.
Yeah. I take your point. And perhaps the main reason I've asked you to do this is because, well, at the end of it, I hope you will see that purpose, let's get this right. The activity in and of itself does not determine where it is placed. Okay? It is the purpose behind the activity and how you use it that makes it engage, explore, explain, etc., etc., etc. You could put any of the activities in any of the categories, but it is how you use it and how it's sequenced that is going to enable the students to be exploring or explaining, etc., etc., etc. Right? And that's what I really wanted you to see from doing this exercise, because as it is right here, it's not written as 5E. You know, I'm just trying to figure out how we can do this, you know, for you to get a sense of how you could think about it. You understand? So it is not the activity that defines it, makes it explore. It is how it is used and your purpose behind putting it there. That's what makes a difference, and how it is sequenced. That's going to make the difference. So in writing the 5E lesson plan, then Tracy's point is well taken. You really have to be clear about what the 5Es are and what do you expect to accomplish in each of those sections of the lesson. All right? What do you expect to accomplish? What is the purpose? So you need to go back to look at the video clip. Go back to look at what Mets had done with you. All right? And I think there's even an article there on the 5E model that you might want to look at. I will upload one very short article if it's not there as yet. I think I had, but just in case I haven't put it, there's one short one that might help you to just capture the 5Es and what exactly they are. All right, so I'll upload it for you so you can actually see it. All right, so we have looked at 3, we have looked at 4 and 5 pretty much. Those are almost pretty clear. Those are clearly explained. Okay, it is at this point that you are coming away with understanding what we mean by planets. What are the critical attributes? What are the non-critical attributes? All right. And well, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, because it is at this point that they are doing their concept definition. So this is the explanation. All right. And perhaps at this phase, what you're really going to be seeing coming out? Well, we're seeing 2 of the E's for sure. We're seeing explain, we're seeing explore. We could see expand depending on how you view 3. And for 7, what do we have at 7? Using the unlabeled chart of the solar system with the class as a whole, randomly point to stars, planets, satellites, etc., asking students to say whether the items are examples or non-examples of planets, requiring the students' responses be justified.
I think that's the evaluation part.
It could certainly serve as evaluation. Okay, so there.
I thought it would be extend.
Yes.
I thought we were only looking at explore, explain, and extend. I didn't know we were looking at
that's my point. It could be evaluation, I said. Could be evaluation, but it could also be something else. Because if you look down at C, on the closure, you will see the evaluation coming out even more so. Could you see how this could be a bit of elaboration? Maybe. Could be if you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Yes, I choose elaboration for 7 because I think the teacher is trying to challenge the student for application of
the concepts
what they've learned.
Yes. Yeah, it could actually be used as such, but perhaps if you were going to write it specifically, you'd want to ensure that your purpose is established, as I have said. So pretty much the lesson plan as it is, this lesson plan has a number of activities indicating, what you're doing at each point in your lesson. All right. Maybe now is a good point to go back to let's see if I can do this quickly.
Can I make a point? Sorry.
Yes. Go ahead.
If we look at the closure.
Yes.
Because you said you use questions and answer, and it says you're going to review critical and non-critical attributes and the concept definition.
Yes.
I think it's almost, as I said again, for number 7, I would use that. I just want to make that point. I would use it as my evaluation because you're now testing the student's knowledge.
Yes.
You test them because you have a label diagram. You want to know, do they know what you have just for them? Because you have unlabeled charts and they are supposed to be putting in whatever it is they learn. So you will know, well, have they learned? Did they put it in the right order? Can they use examples and non-examples? And then at the closure, that's a form of review or recap.
Yes.
For me, because you're going to actually get a definition, because you're going to use the answer that you get from 7, and then you're going to review. They actually do a revision just to reinforce your point as a reinforcement activity.
Yes.
So I'm seeing how you're actually going to evaluate, doing evaluation at the closure, because you're using question and answer from when you do your evaluation from the top, because you might evaluate the student and then the student don't give you the correct answer. So based on what the student tell you in question 7, then you're going to review to say, okay, this is it, that is it. That's how I see it.
All right, look at 3 on the C. Look at 3. So 3 is not much different from 7, but it's a little different. Notice what she has done to extend it, or he. So now you're going more than identifying, yes? And you are now justifying. All right. Well, you're now writing.
They're justified in number 7.
Yeah, no, you're writing it. They're writing it. So in a sense, they are related. So the teacher was sort of using this as a sort of scaffold to get them to do what she wants in 3.
Yes, and additionally, Doctor,
yes.
One can also consider the fact that they might be discussing assignment 3 or not assignment, but activity 3 among the students. It might be a collaborative effort. It doesn't say it, but
yeah, but it could well be done like that.
Homework is probably single student activity.
So it could well be. So this is for homework, and it could well be that this is a foreshadowing. But I take your point. You know, it's the truth is that this could serve as a good evaluative activity at that point. The only drawback I have in it is the fact that they haven't written it. And I say it's a drawback because my experience with teaching is that students need to write what they say they're saying so that you can really get it. And you need to help them to at least put something down on paper to get them to that point, so you can really have a good, clear idea of what they think. But your point is well taken, you know, and as it is now, we're just being theoretical about this, because you could well have written your lesson plan and made this your evaluation. You see what I'm saying? So to make it crystal clear, what we're asking is for you to separate the 5 E's in your lesson plan. Make it explicit what section you are addressing when you're writing your lesson plan. All right? I want to go now to one thing more. Lang and Evans, where am I? All right. What's down here? All right. I want to make it clear. You might have or you might not have checked the assignment, the final assignment. All right, resume screen share. All right, let's go back. And let's go back to my assignments 1 and 2 revised. All right, can you see? No, it doesn't say new share. Oh, That's probably it. All right, no. You should be able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Good. And let's just do this. Oh no, sorry about that. All right, now I wanted to point out something which I have done. I've tweaked the assignment somewhat, and I have added this section in red, and it says, in no more than 2 pages, explain why you introduced the lesson as you did. What do you hope to achieve? What's the relevance of the lesson? What's the relevance for the lesson? Is this an appropriate introduction? Why you selected the resource materials or activities, and how this will help with concept development. So I want you to note that I'm asking you to include this as a part of your lesson plan. I don't know if you had seen it, but I had put it up and made a slight adjustment to your assignment. All right? So I want you to bear that in mind when you go back to think about your lesson. So what we have here is, for part 2, you're to develop a lesson plan, 80 minutes. You're to videotape the introduction and upload it for evaluation. And I am going to try to have all of those things in place for Thursday. The lesson plan should follow the 5E model. You're going to submit a copy of the plan inclusive of all resource materials. Now, this is an important part, inclusive of all resource materials you will use in the lesson. Identify the 5 E phases of the model you plan in your plan. And that should be in your plan, not in you plan. It's amazing you still have errors when you have read the thing several times. This introduction should meet the following requirements. It should be about 5 to 8 minutes. We spoke about that. And it says it should be at least 5 to 8 minutes. In other words, it shouldn't be 1 or 2 minutes. Okay? And it's going to involve any of these. And we're going to look at the discrepant event presently. You're going to upload your video recording, and you're going to write your lesson plan. We'll soon see how to be unpacking this as we go. And then we're going to have your resource materials. I have as well as the assignment up, I have posted a mark scheme for you to look at. Oh, where is that? Lesson plan mark scheme. Trying to find it. Not seeing it. Oh, that's why I'm not seeing it. New share. Lesson plan mark scheme. All right. Okay, so here's your, use this as a guide, please, as to what is required for the assignment. So I've only put here the mark scheme for the lesson plan. So here we're talking about the introductory activity, why do you use it? The part I just put in, this is part in red that's on the screen that you just saw. Here's your lesson plan. And it speaks of, this is where you're getting the bulk of the marks. And it says it must appropriately use the identified model and strategy to address the teaching of the concept. There should be evidence that the lesson content is adequate and accurate. Previous knowledge materials are appropriate. Logical flow. Learning can take place if properly executed. The 5E model is understood. Teaching strategy or activities are appropriate as used in lesson, and the evaluation of the lesson is relevant and plausible. All right? And then there are resources that you're going to develop. So I'm going to talk a bit about these as we go on. All right? So that's just to give you an idea of the slight modification. I've introduced a slight change. We're going to write a short section, and it's just for me to get into your head. Why am I doing it this way? That's what I really want to know. Why are you doing it this way? All right. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
You said you want the introduction to be videotaped.
Yes.
How would you like that? Stand in front of you in the bedroom and just talk?
I don't know how you're going to do it. Yes, you might be talking to imaginary students, or you might sit your son or daughter or puppy in front of your screen and say, "Yes, I'm teaching you." But yeah, it's just to allow me to see you. So you won't necessarily have interaction. And that's why it's important for you to think it through. All right.
Doctor, the due date is I'm a little concerned about the due date being so soon as we have so many other things due.
Yes. Well, I'm sorry. When is it due again? I can't remember. I don't remember in my head.
You have part A, first part 1 due this Thursday.
Oh, yes.
And
But no, part 1, remember you had done it before, you know. Part 1 is what you had done for mates.
You said you wanted a voice over it, so, or you're going to just act as it is.
No, you're going to add voice. You've done this before. So it's just to add voice. It's just to go back to
also
your
not
PowerPoint.
everybody did a PowerPoint for the presentation. Most people did, but like myself and Tracy, we just presented the information without a PowerPoint. But
all right. Was the session recorded?
Yes, it was. So I was thinking if it's recorded.
Could you have access to? Could you have?
Ms. Med said that we should have access to it. I think she said by Friday. I can't remember. It's all getting a little meshed in. Everything's getting a little meshed in together.
I understand. All right. So we're not. What you're saying is that you're not. You don't now have access to the recorded session. So you couldn't really go back to it to help you to remember what it is that you have actually said, to voice over your slides. But and you're saying two things, and you're also saying that some of you, Tracy and Jason, you hadn't done slides, right?
Excuse me. Yes, but in my case, I was supposed to do a case study, so I pretended that I was unprepared and actually did a case study for my presentation.
Yes.
And Ms. Peterkin said that she would get the recording and use that to mark mine because of the way I did my presentation.
Okay. All right.
We weren't told that it had to be a PowerPoint.
Okay.
And I'm not that fond of PowerPoint, so I did everything in my power to avoid.
No pun intended. All right. That's okay, I guess. What I really wanted to see is what you presented and how it is that you, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to tweak it if you needed to tweak it based on what the feedback might have been and what you have learned so far. So I didn't necessarily want to use what you had done. You with me? I wanted to give you an opportunity to make some adjustments to it, and hence my recommendation for you to voice over your PowerPoint if you had it. Now I'm understanding that you all didn't have it. What would you want me to do? Actually, Tracy, you're saying you'd prefer not to do a PowerPoint.
Yes, I prefer to go with the presentation that I gave, which was recorded.
Yes.
I think I choked up on the day, so I could explain a little bit of that. But as far as redoing it as a PowerPoint, I think I just don't have the time, and I would like it to go as it is.
You'd like it to go as it is. All right. What about you, Jason?
Mine probably would be better as a PowerPoint.
Yes.
I am still thinking about the time, but I mean, I guess I can do it. I have it written down what I did because Ms. Peterkin asked if we could email it to each other, so I put together a document, which would help. But I am feeling a little pressed for the time, but I'm not sure. I was just gonna try and get it all done.
All right, Tracy, do you have yours written?
No, I literally had points I told a story.
Yes.
And then did that as a case study. And it was a fairly true story, so I didn't really write notes. And then I just got feedback from my classmates.
All right.
I made them learn. We were discussing teaching theories. I went a different strategy.
Yes. All right.
Dr. Rainford, I would just like to say is that I don't have a problem with the voiceover. The thing is that I think the lesson that we all presented were more interactive because we stopped to ask questions. We are involved with our classmates and stuff. Yes. So the voiceover will just be kind of like reading the slides, but the classes were very interactive. Yes. Like Tracy did, she asked us, so we participated. So it's more, you get a real sense of the discussion. They stop to ask questions and stuff, and then persons share their views and stuff. It's much, to me, very, very interactive, so it will be more effective in that way. But if that's what we find.
No. My recommendation for the voiceover, as I said, was just to give you a chance, to give you an opportunity to tweak it if you wanted to make some adjustments. That was my point. But if you are okay, it's okay. I was just giving you an opportunity to, you know, to make adjustments. Having gone through it and looked at it, I certainly haven't seen it, but I just thought that perhaps you might want to. Now, if the consensus is that it's okay, then it's fine. You know, it's fine. It's fine. We can retrieve it, we can use it, and we can supply a grade for it. We didn't say. Yes, Ashley.
So basically, you're saying that you're going to retrieve the video recording of that lesson for last week, Monday and Tuesday, and you're going to use that to analyze our assessment here?
No, what I'm saying is the assignment is up for the second assignment. And the concern was that there is not enough time to redo the presentation for assignment 2. And I was making the point that it really is what you had done already. And some persons seem okay with leaving it as it was done last week. Others are saying, I'm judging from what you have from your tone and your voice, that you'd rather not do that. The reason why we had given you this opportunity to do it again or to fix it or whatever is primarily because we thought perhaps you would need to do that. You would want to do that coming out of the session. But if that's not a problem, it's not a problem. You know, you understand? So your concern, Ashley, is that you seem to be thinking or saying, based on what I'm hearing, that you would rather not go with it as was done. Am I right?
Incorrect.
Okay, incorrect.
Incorrect. According to Dr. Peterkins, she said, and I quote, "I couldn't have done it any better myself."
Okay, fine. So we're all on the same page then.
I would rather just leave it as it was and use whatever.
Not a problem. My point, as I was making it before, is that I chose to give you another opportunity. If you don't think you need that, then it's not a problem. So Thursday is a moot point because you've already done it.
Well, I think I need to do something over personally, but I was gonna say if I could have till, I don't know, maybe Monday or just extend it because.
No, that's fine. No, I don't have a problem with extending it until Monday. I just thought perhaps it wouldn't be that. I assume that you all had done PowerPoints. That was my point.
This develop a table to compare 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses of using any 5 of the other strategies to teach the concept lesson you used in the activity.
Yes.
Develop a table and compare 2 strengths using any one of the 5 that we covered. Any one?
No, 5.
Oh, you want us to do 5?
Yeah.
Any 5 of using any 5 of the other strategies?
Yes.
But we're only doing 1 of the 5, right? Doesn't say all 5.
That's what I was just asking.
You use 1, but you've got to pull from everybody else's. This is to have you think about the others. In other words, you've learned some things from each other, and I wanted to incorporate that in the final piece.
That was also, I was wanting an extension till Monday, I guess, to do that part also.
That's fine. That's fine. No, that's not a problem.
I'm still not clear about that table. Sorry.
Yes, Tracy.
I think I'm just overloaded and overtired, and I don't think my brain's working anymore.
No,
so could you just explain that again?
Yeah, that's fine. I recognize how challenging it is to cover all that you are covering in a short time. And believe you me, we have held back. I have kept back some things that I've just sort of distilled what I think you really must get. You did case studies, and others of you did other strategies. You used your case study in a particular context. I want you to look at using the other strategies in the context in which you use your case study and looking at it in terms of strengths and weaknesses. So I don't just want you to tell me about case study. I want you to give me a sentence or two on 5 others. Right? And that is really to force you, really to force you to look at the others in ways that will help for you to think about it. And we're going to look at that now, looking at thinking through.
So that was part of part A. So we just have to give you the table on Monday for strength and weakness to finish part A.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
And the voiceover of our PowerPoints.
Well, I didn't go there because of what.
But we already said we're going to use it as it is, Ashley.
Right.
Oh, she gave. Oh, okay. I didn't understand that she gave us that option to just let it.
She said, okay, get the table for Monday.
Yes.
She's gonna get the tape for Monday. You said.
Just the table. The table is strengthening. The last part.
No. See, I was asking for an extension for the PowerPoint as well as the table because
that's fine, Jason. No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
I'm just making sure. I'm gonna try and get it in on Thursday, but
that's fine. That's fine.
Monday is fine. Yeah, Monday. Yeah.
So Ava, she said that she's going to accept what we've already done for our
as is. Yes.
As great. What lovely.
Yes, so just the table we have to finish for part A. Then we work on part B for the 20th.
Thank you.
Yes, we all know how confusing.
Can I say something which I think will be set for all my classmates? Maybe not Jason, but it's very kind of you to not make us do that again because I think we're all feeling pressured. Like pressure.
All right,
Thank
fine,
you.
Ashley. I just need to know where's Vanessa, and I just want to be sure that someone is communicating.
I'm not sure if she's coming back to our lectures.
Okay.
Maybe you can contact our program administrator here in Bermuda, Dr. Ahad.
Yes, I will.
She might have more information.
Okay, fine. I'll do that. I haven't checked my email since morning, so I have not checked to see if Dr. Ahad has been trying to get me. All right, fine. Linton, are you? Oh, yes, Linton is there. We're all here. I was wondering where you were. Linton, you got all of that?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm clear.
Okay, fine. All right, lovely. So then we're clear about. No, Ava, you asked about the introduction and how you're going to do it and who you're going to be teaching. I really am hoping that we can get through without you sounding as if you're, speaking to yourself and losing it. All right.
I have my two daughters. They can sit still.
They can sit.
I have an audience.
It's good if you have an audience, but it doesn't have to be, they don't have to respond. But I mean, if you can get 2 or 3 people, who you can work with, that's fine. All right.
I wouldn't be for learning if they don't respond, would it be?
Yes. It's really just to give you enough of a context to be able to ask your questions and show what you're saying and that sort of thing. All right. And I'm hoping that will really work. I mean, I've never done this. I don't know. Much of this is new for me as well, meaning I've never done it in a context where you don't have real students. And when we do this course next year, if we have a group of students doing science, we are going to do it in the first semester, meaning instead of doing the sociology course with METS, we're going to do this course early because I think you need this course. You need a longer time for which to do this course. So we have looked at all sorts of things since we have been doing this program. That's one of it. So hopefully that works. All right. So then.
On with David's point, we had to do one already, and I spent more time trying to find students, and then when it got changed for a time, and then you have to pay them to come because they don't just want to show up. I had to buy them lunch, everything, and it was hours. You spend so much time trying to find an audience.
Okay.
Because none of us are in Bermuda, none of us are teachers.
Yeah.
So it was a nightmare getting them. And then when the date got changed, trying to track them down when school's out. Oh.
Yeah, it was difficult. Yeah, I reckon that you really do need to have access to students in some way. And one of the things we have really been struggling with is how to help persons who are not in the classroom to have that rich experience. And it has to do with how you sequence the courses. So if you're doing this in the teaching term and not in the summer, you're better likely to find real students. And even if they are not in a real classroom, meaning you could have them on your veranda or some such place to teach them, and you just need about 4 or 5 students, maybe some of your neighbors' children who might be on the road who can help. He was laughing. Yeah, or if you're a church, you could go to your church school or your Sabbath school or some such other place where you can have a group of persons. Your family members could serve in that context. So let's see how that works. But we recognize that there are some challenges, and we're trying to get around the challenges as we go. All right, good. So we have about an hour and a half left, and we want to spend some time looking now at discrepant events. All right. Now, let us just break it a bit, and let's first. Okay. All right. Let us first go to the course page again, and let us try and find the video on discrepant events. Can you find it? There's a link to discrepant events. Did I open all of this? Okay. Are you seeing my screen?
No.
All right. Okay, can you go to the link discrepant events? Open it. And we're going to start by looking at floating ping pong ball. When you've got there, let me know.
Okay, it's like an outline of the experiment with the video.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're now going to watch the video, and it says Cool Science Demos with Mr. K. Click on it. And let's watch the video.
I'm sorry, I don't see the video.
All right. Can you go to? You mean you're not seeing the? You're at floating ping pong ball. Have you
Yes.
found it? All right.
Yes.
In the middle of the page, you should see Cool Science Demo video. And there's a guy
Tracy,
there.
You have to click on floating ping pong ball, the orange rating at the top next to the beaker.
Yeah.
You have to click on that, and then that will take you into a more descriptive page for the floating ping pong ball.
Thanks, Ashley.
Welcome.
Very good. All right, so watch the video. We're talking about discrepant events. I'm not hearing. All right. So we have watched the video. We have read our article by Longfield, and we're going to talk about what we mean by a discrepant event. All right. Now, perhaps you want to see another one, so you could go back to the link, and if you scroll down some more, you should see some others like film canister rockets, the dye paper experiment, making underwater volcano. Look at another one, anyone that you choose. And what I want you to do is to think about what is a discrepant event and what is their use in science teaching. So let's look at a couple more for me. And then you tell me, I'll give you 2 minutes. We're going to talk about that as well as talking about the article. Okay, guys, so you have spent some time looking at these, and you now have a sense of what we mean by a discrepant event. Who wants to go? Samuel? What's a discrepant event in your mind?
Yeah, I think it is an event to make the student think about the concept that is about to be taught. Or it's also an event to make students relate what they know to scientific terms, or how they can relate, or how they can explain what they know scientifically. But it's just an event to make them thinking about science itself,
Or
or the nature of science.
Why discrepant? Why discrepant?
Because I think there's some nature of science that comes into it, the subjectivity. Because sometimes you can say the same thing but have different interpretation of it.
All right. Let me hear what you have to say on that, Linton. Why discrepant?
I don't know. Well, I want to say it's something, a descriptive activity, something that students would probably take for granted in science, and that you would do it to bring out a certain concept to them.
All right, now you're speaking in very general and vague terms, both of you so far. I want you to think about it. That means you either haven't read or haven't read carefully the information I asked you to read. And I told you to do it at the beginning of the class, and I told you to do it on the weekend. All right, now let's go. Ashley, you want to jump in here?
Yes. Hello.
Go right ahead.
I'm sorry. Can you just repeat the question?
Yeah.
I'm here, but I can't remember.
I can't see you, so I don't know if you're there. That's not true. I see your screen up. Discrepant event. Discrepant event.
You're asking me why would one want to use?
What is a discrepant event?
Oh, I thought you said why.
No. Based on what Samuel and Linton had said, I asked them to try to come with a better definition by focusing on the word discrepant, because locked up in the discrepant event is an understanding of what we mean by discrepant. So the question really is, what is a discrepant event?
Discrepant event is an activity that is put for the students, which will in turn provide space for conceptual change if their cognitive beliefs are being stretched, or the cognitive, or basically like, or if they're or if they're given a descriptive, what is it? Descriptive?
Discrepant.
Discrepant event, then that might clear up any misconceptions that a student may have.
Not quite. Not in the, you're suggesting that the discrepant event is to help to clear up the misconceptions, but it isn't.
Not necessarily clear misconceptions by that one activity, but
it's a little bit, it's not as clear cut as that.
Straightforward, yeah. It's not like a straightforward activity. It's like getting the students to think about like in a mirror, like it's like trying to get the students to think about concepts in different ways that aren't normally given to them. So with that said, that might clear up through that process, that might clear up some of the misunderstandings or
well, yes, in the sense that you're saying that the students are forced to think about their misconceptions, but it is not that you're giving them information in ways that they have not yet been given. There's something very unique about a discrepant event and about how it is used.
It's like a mind. It's like makes your mind like whoa, like I never even
expected this.
Yeah.
So you never expected it. All right.
Right.
It is something that goes. Let me hear from you. Eva, you were saying.
I wasn't saying. But
thought you were going to say.
I must try that with my students. I'm thinking that discrepant, because it's something that actually goes against what you believe to be true. You try to bring in the person's knowledge, and then you have some event, either by demonstration or whatever, to actually have them by themselves internalize and challenge what they have previously taught. So you challenge your thinking and say, no, is that correct or not? And that event will actually either solidify what they know or have a change in what they previously held believe that they thought was true. So you make it such a way that they have a kind of a conflict with what they previously know and what they've seen in front of them, and that will allow the change to take place.
Very good. That really is what it is. It really is presenting an experience that goes. It's almost counterintuitive. So here it is that this guy is using this blow dryer, and he has his ping pong ball, and he has the blow dryer under the ping pong ball. Intuitively, you expect that the ping pong ball is going to be blown away by the blow dryer. That's what you expect. It doesn't happen. Instead, it sits and floats right on air, and you have this very light ping pong ball, and you have this blast of air. So, hey, what's this? What's the reason for this? So it's counterintuitive. It doesn't fit your expectation. Okay? So you put an Alka-Seltzer tablet in a glass of water, and you cover a canister of water, and you cover it. And suddenly you have an explosion that pushes off the cover. This is counterintuitive. This is not expected. And that's what the discrepant event is. Now, I'm going to show you there's one that I tend to do, and I really wish I had done it. I had a chance to do it to show you. I wasn't sure how well a demonstration might work here. I'll try and do it for Thursday, so I won't tell you about it. But there's one that I tend to do with students when I'm teaching them about the particulate nature of matter. It really is mind-boggling and an eye-opener. So I will try and get it done on Thursday for you. I think if I demonstrate it here, you should be able to see it based on what I will use. So I'll do a live demonstration here and see if you can share with me. You can see it when on Thursday. So I'll show you one. But here it is. I'm about to try to share the screen. Can you see my screen?
No.
All right.
No.
Yes or no, or yes and no?
No.
No. All right. Let's do this. Share screen. And where is what I'm looking for? Final assignments, conceptual change. Where is my? This probably is it. Can you see this now?
Yes.
Excellent. This is the article by Christine Chin, and it says, what is a discrepant event? A discrepant event is a phenomenon which has a surprising and paradoxical outcome that is not what the observer would normally expect. That's why there's a discrepancy. So discrepant comes from the business of discrepancy. You know, this is not expected. Consider, for example, the potato, which when put in two containers of identical looking liquids remains suspended in one but sinks in the other. What might cause this? You have two potatoes in two liquids. They look alike, but in one it floats and the other it sinks. Tell me about the two liquids.
It probably has to do with the viscosity of the liquid, how something's soft,
Yes.
the type of liquid it is. Could be
Yes.
oil, one could be water, something like that.
Well, they look alike. They both
Well, clear.
They
Clear.
both look like water, but one is not water. One might be brine. Do you know salt water? And so you should be able to know brine. I challenge you to do this if you've never done it before. Just make a concentrated solution of salt and water. Get two Irish potatoes, put one in one and put the other one in plain water and see what happens. But that's a discrepant event, okay? Or the case of the knitting needle that is pierced right through a full-blown balloon without bursting it. This kind of occurrence, which runs counter to one's intuition, tends to evoke a strong feeling of wanting to know more about how it works, and a consequent need to solve discrepancy in one's mind. It challenges the observer to find answers to the seemingly illogical results of the event to resolve the conceptual conflicts that arise. Now, this notion of using discrepant events has its theoretical framework, its theoretical base in much of the kind of cognition and cognitive theory that Piaget speaks about. He speaks about this business of assimilation and disequilibrium, and we're going to talk about that from looking at Longfield's article. But certainly the theory of cognitive dissonance is where this fits. Now, you have been doing a lot about cognition and learning and understanding how students come to know and how they come to understand. And the research actually says that students come to the classroom with these preconceived ideas, and they don't really dispel them very easily. They really don't. In fact, they hold on to them. And what the theory of cognitive dissonance actually says is that it says, if you read with me with Chin, the existence of cognitive dissonance or inconsistency creates a psychological discomfort that will motivate a person to reduce the dissonance and actively seek consonance or mental equilibrium in the case of discrepant events. So you don't expect the ping pong ball to be floating. You in fact expect it to be blown away. So now you've seen it's floating. That's cognitive dissonance. And so now I have to say no, but I must understand this. Why does this work the way it does? And so because of the very graphic picture of something that you don't expect to happen, you are now motivated to try to solve that problem. And so the incongruity between what is physically observed to occur and what students think should occur upsets their intellectual equilibrium and it propels them to change their existing ideas. Okay? So that's what it is. So discrepant events can be quite meaningful when it comes on to conceptual change, changing what students think, changing their ideas, changing what they believe about teaching and learning. Okay? So, and they have always been widely used in science. You must have seen the odd demonstration at school, and you might even do some of them when you drop a metal on water and it floats around and it catches fire and it makes a loud noise, an explosion. You would have seen the sodium water experiment. You don't expect it to happen. It's not something that you expect to see. All right? And there's so many others that you can think about from the sciences. So the thing about it is that they are so riveting that students don't really forget them. And so what you're being encouraged to do is to incorporate this approach in your teaching. Okay, so wherever possible, the teacher can consciously plan experiments or demonstrations which cause the students to experience cognitive dissonance. That is, this is not what I expected. Why does this happen the way it does? It's the cognitive dissonance. Okay? So how do you go about doing this? But it's a sequence that Friedel suggests as to how to use it. First, they say set up the discrepant event. The teacher creates a situation with a paradox or discrepancy that students attempt to solve. So you say, now, why does this happen? And you ask some questions. And you ask the students to write predictions stating what they think will happen before carrying out the activity. So they then make their observations, noting down anything unexpected. The teacher guides them to ask questions, that sort of thing. And you invite them to make possible explanations. Okay? And then you can have them work individually at this point, or you can have them work together. Okay? And then the next step is to resolve the questions posed by the event and relate them to the body of scientific knowledge. So by their own direct experiences, students will find the answers to many of the questions posed by the discrepant event. Why doesn't the ball go away? Why does it remain there? Okay? And then you might then introduce them at some point to Bernoulli and have them look at what Bernoulli's principle says, and you know, the difference between the pressure created by hot moving air. So they would have a vested interest in the outcome. And even if they are unsuccessful in finding the answers, the teacher's explanation will not be as abstract as they would say. The whole idea is that you involve the students in finding the answers so that they don't become frustrated. And below here are some other activities that have been proposed. There are loads of such activities in the literature, especially in the physical sciences. So I'm suggesting to you that you just need to do some reading and thinking through and look for some of these that you might want to incorporate in the lesson. Now let me just make a point about the incorporating these things in the lessons. You need to always, this business of purpose is very, very important in teaching. Students can really get caught up in the activity and miss what you're trying to teach. So you have to manage your learning environment. You also have to think about how you're going to segue from the actual activity to the concepts that you want them to learn. Okay? That is really very important. How do you make that bridge? How do you make that transition? How do you make that link? So these are some examples. So this really is the background behind the discrepant events. All right, we're going to spend the next half an hour or so looking at the article now by Longfield, which is what I had asked you to look at. All right, so you can bring up that article, and we're going to talk a bit now. We're going to go through because I want us to get our heads around this theory and to be able to describe why it is that it is what it is. So if you have your article by Longfield,
Yes, we have it.
excellent. All right. So now we're going to talk a bit about the actual article. All right. Now, let's look at it, and we're going in the first section where they have their introduction, I guess. And it describes a discrepant science event can be as simple as floating 2 identical cans of soda, one regular and one diet, and observing that one floats and the other sinks. And you might want to try that one as well, because sometimes you read these things and you say, I didn't know this. And then you realize that, oh, wow, this is really neat. Now, the key to using a discrepant event is knowing the science behind what happens and making sure that the science is relevant to what it is that you're doing. Now, we can have wonderful, great, exciting stuff happening in science class. But if we are not able to make the connection between what we're doing and what we're trying to teach, then it becomes a distraction. We don't want distractions. We want real learning. All right? So let's now look at it. So it describes it. And so it says that discrepant science events are designed to puzzle students and cause them to wonder why the event occurred as it did. So we have looked at that. We're clear about that. Now let's look down at this section that says, discrepant events work because, as Piaget notes, puzzling situations create cognitive disequilibrium, resulting in the need for students to assimilate and accommodate. Now, are we clear on assimilation and accommodation? Because they're very important for learning to take place. All right? So discrepant events work because, as Piaget notes, puzzling situations create cognitive disequilibrium, resulting in the need for students to assimilate, which is to use existing knowledge to deal with new experiences, and accommodate, which is to alter or replace existing concepts. Learning is about both. We're trying to do both. Okay? Cognitive disequilibrium, also known as cognitive conflict, is to student learning what the internal combustion engine is to the automobile. And that here, then we have, what do we have that? What is that happening? What is that right there?
Analogy.
It's an analogy. And it speaks to it. Now, you would have realized that there are differences, shortcomings of analogies. They don't always work right across. And if we had time, we could explore this one. All right? So I can't overemphasize how important it is for you to confront students' ideas that are incorrect in teaching. If we make the assumption that students come to the classroom with nothing to contribute, and all that we're going to do is tell them what they need to know, they will never learn. All right? What we will find is that we attempt to tell students what we think they need to know, but they will not learn because they already come with their own ideas. Teaching requires us to find out where the students are at and to bridge that gap between where they are and where you want them to be. And one of the key possibilities for doing that is to create what Piaget calls this disequilibrium. And it is extremely important, especially in science, because students come to the classrooms with so many naive ideas. And you've been doing this in the course with Metz, and you've met some of that in the course with Nicola. All right? So this is not new. Now, in this article, Longfield differentiates between a discrepant event and what she calls a discrepant teaching event. All right, we're still on business of how you ensure we teach concepts in ways that we can help them. So a discrepant teaching event as opposed to a discrepant event. Now, if you haven't yet read this section, I'm just going to ask you to just take 5 minutes. You don't even need 5 minutes, you can take 3 minutes and read the next 2 sections. What is a discrepant teaching event? And confronting the nature of science misconception, the apple of understanding. I want you to spend some time and I want you to tell me at the end how a discrepant teaching event is different from a discrepant event. And I want each of you to be able to tell me how you might use a discrepant teaching event. Excuse me. I want you to be able to explain what is a discrepant teaching event. How is it different from a discrepant event? And to tell me how you might use a discrepant teaching event. Let's just take 5 minutes, therefore, and read the next 2 sections. All right then. So here we have, it's a very nice little article on discrepant event and discrepant teaching events. And wanted to say a couple things before I have the discussion. In the first section of the article, you would find what we have, we would describe as the sort of theoretical basis for the article. I want you to just look, when you have some time, just look carefully at how the quotations are done and in terms of how the writer uses and pulls on primary sources and how it is written, where you have direct quotes, for example, that the page numbers are also included, and look critically at how to cite using APA reference style as is represented here. Just whenever you begin to read an article, it's always good to, you know, to look at it critically from different perspectives. How you paraphrase or how you rephrase or how you describe without necessarily using direct quotations and yet not plagiarize, but retain the sense using your own interpretation of what was written, right? That's just a teaching moment, which I thought I should pass on. All right, so a discrepant teaching event and a discrepant event. Who wants to take this one first? Who wants to sort of just share what they've got? Or am I supposed to go around the room again and ask questions? Oh, brave soul.
I don't mind. I don't mind going.
Yes, Jason.
My understanding is that a discrepant science event is one in which is mainly more teacher-centered, and the teacher is performing or conducting a demonstration that normally occurs at the beginning of the lab or the class. And then, in contrast, a discrepant teaching event can be in any area of any subject, not just science, and it doesn't necessarily have a specific time. It's like it doesn't have to be at the beginning of the class or in the middle. It can occur at different times, and the goal is still the same, though, to challenge the students' misconceptions and to help them to understand the correct concept in that field of study.
Yes, quite good. And anyone else wants to add anything?
I'd just like to add that the teaching event is not teacher centered. The students are the one who will get gain from doing the activity. They themselves will come to realize it. I guess the teacher might have to have the materials present in order for them to discover that. So I'm thinking the students will probably be taking a kind of a discovery approach to that the teacher have the lesson of a discovery approach, but the children themselves will construct and they will discover it on their own without having her to go in front and demonstrate. So the students will be active participants. Yes.
All right. The key thing, as you have said, you have pointed them out, and the whole idea is that even that last sentence in the section is nice. When this teaching strategy is used to confront students' naive conceptions of course content, the planned unexpected outcome can be referred to as the discrepant teaching event. So it sums up what it is that you have been saying. When this strategy is used to confront the ideas, the planned, which is the unexpected outcome, can be referred to as the discrepant teaching event. So what it is that you have created, planned for, that unexpected outcome is that discrepant teaching event. It's really not a critical thing for you to get. I just want you to understand two things from this. I want you to understand that the notion of discrepant event as used in science is not just used in science. It is used in other areas. And as you teach, you need to begin to create this sort of this way of looking at matter, information. So I might even stretch it as far to say that the way you put forward your arguments, the way you ask student questions must always be as such that you're trying to create this cognitive conflict. So you say then, if metals react with acids to give you a gas, the gas is hydrogen. And you say, but how is it then that I take this metallic object, aluminium? Aluminium is a metal, it's an active metal. But when I put it in this acid, there's no reaction. I take my piece of aluminum foil, I drop it in the acid, and I'm not seeing anything. Why? So immediately you begin to ask these sorts of questions. So I'm not doing an activity now. I'm not doing a demonstration, but I am creating a conflict, a cognitive conflict that is going to force the student to think about the property of aluminum. What is it about it? Why it sometimes appears as if it's an unreactive metal by virtue of how it reacts. Because you see, when you just say metals react with acids to produce hydrogen, aluminum is above hydrogen, it's an active metal, it gives you that reaction. I say that, I know that. But in their experience, they don't see that happening with aluminum. What is it about aluminum? What's happening here? So you bring into the discussion in class the issues, the challenges, the unexpected experiences that students encounter every day for them to think deeper. You cannot use this approach, therefore, in a kind of didactic mode where the teacher comes in and gives information and tells the students everything that they need to know. That doesn't work like that, right? So I want you to think about this, and I feel so strongly about it that I am spending a lot of time talking about it, because I want you to understand that in teaching, you have got to create a space for these kinds of questions, these problems. So you've got to problematize the concept teaching for students to begin to think deeply about it. If you don't create the space for them to think about it, they will not think, they will just imbibe. And it becomes, I just drink it in. And there's no room for me to think. I'm not required to think about anything. I am only required to report and repeat what you have said. That's not active learning, right? It's not active learning, right? It's very passive learning. We'll soon come to that. So let's now look at what this teacher did. And what was the problem that led to this creating active teaching?
Sorry, Dr. Rainford. Just one thing. I was wondering, could you like adjust your mic to slide it up more towards your mouth? If that's okay. Right? Yeah.
Going in and out?
No, your earring was just like bouncing on the mic, I think.
Oh, okay, my earring.
I think that's what it was.
Better?
I don't know.
Oh, it might be. It's better now. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Look at that. All right. Okay, then. So then, what was the problem that this teacher encountered? Tracy, let's bring you in here. What was the problem that she was having that led her to do this?
I didn't finish reading it, but I think the students were saying that they wanted to teach a certain way, but they weren't actually doing that when they wrote up lesson plans?
Yes, yes. There's a disconnect between what they knew to be good practice and what in fact that they were writing. And you find that it became clear, as I reviewed my students' lesson plan, it became clear that they believed the best way to begin a science lesson was by defining scientific terms. In other words, they thought science as a vocabulary and facts. And when asked to explain the best strategy for introducing science lessons, they responded appropriately. The learning cycle, which is really another conceptual change model, which is there, which begins with exploration, but their plans did not demonstrate this. So here we have a situation where the teachers are coming to the teaching learning environment with a mindset, a way of saying, okay, the only way to teach science is to give students the content up front, tell them this is what it is, an acid is, a base is, a salt is, the periodic table is, you put the definitions up, and then you say, okay, now what is? And the point that Longfield is making is that the students were writing their lesson plans like that, but they were saying that they were using a conceptual change model, which didn't seem to fit. There was a disconnect. And so that was the misconception. They came to the classroom with that misconception. Okay? So she determined now she's going to do something. And I want us to go through carefully this approach that she took. And let's see if we can understand what it is. I'm going to read it slowly. So upon realizing my students were modeling the inadequate science teaching strategies they had experienced, I planned an activity, okay, designed to help them re-examine their thinking. Focusing the next class on how to teach a science concept, I handed out apples and explained that the apples were a metaphor representing the various science concepts students planned to teach. So the apples represented science concepts, okay? I asked each group to explore their apples and to generate a list of apple attributes by observing the apples, smelling them, weighing them, predicting what they might see inside, and then cutting the apples open and drawing what they saw. So what the teacher did was to say, okay, now you're going to be teaching these concepts. Here are the concepts. These are the apples. I want you to explore these concepts by using your senses, all your senses. Tell me all you can as much as possible about this concept by carrying out these activities. Smell it, weigh it, touch it, feel it, and that. Then the next thing that they did, I revisited the use of models in science teaching by distributing wooden apples. So you move from real apples to wooden apples. I revisited the use of models by distributing wooden apples. I asked students to remove apple attributes from their lists that were no longer observable and to add any new observation. So in the first experience, they were observing. All right. Now that we are looking at wooden apples, I want you to take away any attribute from your list that doesn't fit with my model of a wooden apple. So first they had real apples. The next they had a wooden apple. Okay? And I asked the students to remove apple attributes from their list that were no longer observable and to add any new observations. Why would you think the teacher would do that? What do you think is the purpose behind this activity? Started off with real apples. Yes, go ahead, Ashley.
Maybe to make them focus more on certain attributes.
Yes. Say some more on that for me.
A lot of times when
people are limited in their ability to sense things. Say, for instance, if you are blind, some people who are blind have heightened hearing or heightened ability to smell, or they have a heightened ability to sense things, like frequency-wise.
All right. So you're talking about the fact that by using the real apple, they're going to be able to explore the apple in different ways, and so this
I'm saying the model, because some of their senses won't be needed to examine, like you said, they smelt them.
Yes.
So basically, I guess what I'm saying is that because some of their senses won't be utilized in observing the features of the apple.
Yes. Well, yes.
Go ahead.
No, you're saying that their senses would not be involved in observing the wooden apple. That's true. That's true. But here's the deeper question is, why would the instructor do this in light of the problem that was identified? In light of the problem identified, which is the fact that students were saying one thing about what they were teaching and doing something else, why would the instructor go about showing the students, making this contrast? Well, not just this, because the next step was to draw the black outline of an apple. So you just draw an apple, an outline, using your marker. Imagine that. Okay? And the next thing is observe and write as much as you can about apples from what I have given you. So imagine this now. You have 4 representations. You have one that said APPLE, that's the last one. One that's a picture drawn of an apple, that is a 2D picture outline. The third, which is a wooden apple, a model. And the fourth, which is a real apple. So you have 4 different learning experiences with which the students are to which they're exposed. All right? And so the question really is, why would the instructor do this? What is the purpose? What is the person trying to do? What do you think?
2 cents from Ava. When I read the article and I saw what the instructor did, I looked at the real apple the first time.
Yes.
I'm seeing you can list a number of attributes of the real apple when you have the real thing. Yes. When you move from the real thing to the wooden, you would have taken out the experience that you have with the real apple. You crossed off maybe the feel, the texture, and all these things. When you go to the wood, so it kind of, if you actually give the last word just apple, in terms of your responses and the limitlessness, when you compare the two, you would have had that experience to see. But if you just give the children a thing wholesale, you would not have the thinking, the feeling, all his senses will not be engaged in that lesson so much. That's what I got from it. That you see that maybe when you end up at the end of it, you might have 2 or 3 attributes, and when you have the whole list at the beginning, you're numerous. So the experience is much great. The students will analyze it, thinking, put their senses, and they will come up with what actually the apple is finally, as opposed to just telling them and limit their thinking.
Right. Yes. So that's what that was about. That was about showing the distinction between treating the concept at a level that says this is what it is. Here's the definition, an apple is, as opposed to exposing them to the concept apple. So they get the appleness, as he describes it, of the concept apple. What really does it mean? And it is used in this way, is described in this article, is being portrayed in this way to help teachers like yourselves, myself, for us to recognize the invaluable experience that students have when they learn the concept experientially. Recognizing that there are some limitations to learning about the concept by way of being told about it, as opposed to learning about the concept by experiencing it. All right? And the fact is, remember this, we're talking about cognitive dissonance. So what we have is a situation where students think they are using an inquiry approach by coming in and defining the concepts and then saying, okay, I'm using learning cycle. Okay? But when they go through this activity, they realize that, boy, I'm really not learning. I'm not using what I think I'm using. I'm doing something else. And so it does that, and as well as it helps us to understand how absolutely important it is for us to have students experience, real experience, allows for a variety, as you have said, Eva, of senses, observations to take place that you would not have in a context where you just tell the students information. All right? So this is really what this is about. This is about helping students to come to terms with the value of experiencing the learning that you want students to encounter. All right? And I have come here at this point with this because I really want you to see the difference in telling me about sinking and floating and coming and saying, students, if you put an Irish potato in a solution of brine, it will float. But if I put it in water, it will sink. Yeah, you could do that. But that's not a discrepant event. But when you actually have them experience it, then it becomes a whole new field is opened up for the learner. All right, and that's what this is about. And the other articles speak to some other examples of it being used in different subject areas. All right, so this is really why I wanted you to read this and to really get a sense of how the discrepant event is of value from a theoretical perspective as you talk about teaching and learning, and also how it is that it can be used, why we justify it and why we use it. It's a very powerful tool because what we see lives on with us for a long time. It's very powerful, and it's been left to this point for you to recognize how powerful it is and how important, absolutely important it is. So in a nutshell then, any questions, comments, anything you want to say before I try to summarize?
I unfortunately have to leave. I'm very disappointed. I wish you could just stop and start again on Thursday.
I won't go for very long, but yeah, go ahead.
Don't make me miss too much.
No,
I just want to say I didn't want to just shut my screen off. It felt a bit rude. I should have left a couple minutes ago, but I wasn't able to. Okay, bye-bye. Okay,
Tracy. Yes. Someone else was going to say something.
Yes, Dr. Rainford.
Yes.
I acknowledge your point that we tried to create this event, but I'm thinking we probably can do it in science. Well, not probably. We can do it in science lesson, but can a discrepant event have no right and wrong conclusion based on the cultural beliefs of somebody? Can you have an event where if somebody give a particular answer, it will confirm to one perspective and another, and a different view will also be correct? Because I'm thinking maybe in terms of, you say you can use it in other areas. Let's say social studies as an example give. Coming from, let's say, the Native American, and then you have somebody, Caucasian, about a particular event, let's say slavery or something like that. Their perspective will be different, but in no way will be completely incorrect based on their experience, based on their culture, based on the stories that are handed down, and they, stuff like that. So either way, we will not have, the teacher also will play a part in that, because the teacher might come from a different background also. And trying to get that event will not really sink into other culture, other races and stuff like that. Can we have that, and where nobody is incorrect, but you just leave it, as is? I'm not sure if you understand.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I have not experienced it, and perhaps because I haven't thought about it in terms of other subjects outside of science. I suspect that you might have situations like that. I don't know. I can't say. I'd have to read some more about that. In science, however, there's usually a scientific explanation for the phenomenon that takes place.
In science, yeah, but I'm just thinking about, because you say you can use it in other areas.
Yes,
and I'm thinking, because the article also spoke about different perspective and how persons see things.
Yes.
So I'm thinking maybe you can have that situation where you can create that event, and still each party, whether they are on the same side, can still be correct, or a kind of neutral position based on who says what.
It is possible. Like I said, I haven't thought about that. That's an interesting position, interesting perspective, and it might be worth exploring. But I have never considered it. I don't know if I have an answer, but I suspect it is quite possible. But thanks for that input, Eva. Any other comments? All right. So here's the next question. Can you see yourself using a discrepant teaching event? And Samuel, are you awake? I see your eyes looking dreamy there. He's laughing at me. Yes. Anybody? For those of you who are teaching, have you ever used anything like this in your teaching?
I think agriculture allows it, because I remember, one incident where we were out on the farm and they had this gentle student, and he said, "Miss, what are you doing?" I said, "Okay, I got some stem. I show the spinach or the callaloo, as he said." Yes, so he said, "What is it you're doing with that?" I said, "Okay, we're going to use the stem cuttings to just stick it in the soil, and we're going to see how it grow." He said, "But no, miss, you cannot do it like that or whatever. You need to have seeds. My grandmother do it like that." I said, "Okay, that's true, but let's try it and see what happened." So after 2 weeks or so, it started to grow. So I called him. I said, "You look at that. There's another way of doing it. It's actually growing. You can pull it out. You see it start to form roots and stuff." He said, "Okay, miss, yes, I got it and stuff." So I think that's one of the moments where he just believed that, because his grandmother is accustomed to using seeds, and you have never seen it done by stem cuttings. So I called him. He said, "Okay, I can use it's faster and stuff like that. You don't have to generate the seeds and stuff." So I think that's one event where I think it was discrepant in terms of the student.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. The only challenge I have with it, well, there is a discrepancy, and there's this cognitive dissonance and the conflict. Everything, it's all there. The notion of the discrepant event is usually more short term in terms of the timing over which this thing takes place, and so in that context, it might be a bit of a stretch to describe it as such, but I do see what you're saying in terms of creating that dissonance and making this distinction. Because when you think of the event, it's like, taking place short term, that sort of a thing. Yes. Any other comments on this?
Ashley from Bermuda.
Yes, Ashley.
The only thing I can really think of to utilize this in my future teaching exercises or activities is in a class where we're investigating, or not necessarily even investigating, but I'm just looking at substitutions or replacements for utilizing saturated fats like butter in cooking methods, and substituting, well, with a different saturated fat, but
substituting like things like margarine or butter for something like coconut oil, and which might be able to tie in with this method. Like I guess students might think that the end product won't come out. I'm not sure what they would think, but I'm just trying to. I don't really.
Yes, but
because nutrition and food, culinary arts. I don't know if discrepancy.
Yes, it might not be. It might not even be a good thing, is it? You know, we don't want to play around with food like that. But it might well be.
I mean, there are some concepts, like, you know, some things like you may not think would happen, like with substitutions or like sugar substitutions.
Yes.
That happen, like when you make baked goods, like you might not think that this would happen or that would happen, or you know what I mean. So there are some concepts, but I'm not sure. I'm still thinking of ways to make it actually constructive.
Yes. Well, one of the things you could do is to do some research to see if you do have scope for that or examples. I mean, there's just loads of examples in science, real loads. I mean, science has over the years had built quite a reputation on discrepant events. So you'll find quite a bit, but I'm not sure about the cooking component.
I think taste would be a big component. To me, that would be the most obvious, to show that if you're substituting coconut oil, like you said, for butter, that it still tastes good, or or using certain ingredients that people might think, oh, that's not going to taste very good. But then once you use it, it still tastes good.
When you combine them, yes, you may find that it works. Yes, that might well be. Because there's some
that would be subjective. Sorry. That would be subjective because the person might say, I don't like it. So it's not
true.
Yes, that's true. That's true too. That's true too. That's true too.
That's preference.
The one that comes to my mind, and I don't know that it is how it is. I don't know if you have, Ashley, if you have ever made a tamarind drink.
Yes, actually, I'm familiar. I used to do a beverage line called Sip and Savor Beverages.
Yes.
Where I would bottle and provide tamarind limeade. So I would soak up the tamarind in like a warm water and then put that through a chinois, which is like a sieve, to get the paste out, and then I'd zest the lemons and then squeeze the lemons. So it was really it was a popular one. People like that. So.
Still ask you what's wrong with your line. All right.
No, they don't ask me what's wrong. They're asking me. I haven't been doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't been doing it just because busy with school, and I'm looking to expand my resources well, basically I want to get a big steam jacket kettle.
Yeah.
So that I can make huge batches, not necessarily by like the 5-gallon batches that I was doing. I want to make like huge batches. So I have to wait until I can. I have some locations. I have like a commercial kitchen and everything that I built and all this, but I think I need a separate location for my beverage line because I'm utilizing the kitchen for catering and everything.
Okay. Well, this is interesting. It's interesting that you're in that sort of field. I was coming to it from a much more from the housewife's perspective, wherein
here in Bermuda, there's like even the housewives, they're too busy, so they depend on us to make it for them.
Oh,
like
I see.
I think a lot of people are eating out, and we import a lot of the things that we consume here. Most of the things that we consume here are imported. So, yeah.
Have you ever added baking soda to tamarind drink?
No, what happens?
All right. Well, that might well be your discrepant event. The one that I could think of anyway. So let's see if you can understand a little chemistry. So we have tamarind, which is primarily acidic. Yes?
Okay.
You're agreeing with that? And then what do you know about baking soda? What do you know about baking soda? Anything about it?
Sodium bicarbonate.
Yes, what do you know about it?
I know that that it does have reactions with certain foods, like sunflower seeds.
Yes.
When we add sunflower seeds, some chemical reaction happens. It turns the flour gray or something. I mean green.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
Um.
What do you know about how sodium bicarbonate reacts with acids?
Oh, right, the volcano. When we were in school, we made like the volcano experiment.
All
We
right. So
dyed the.
you see how you're remembering an experience, right? So here it is. I asked you about a chemical concept, and you remember the experience. You see how important it is for the experiences for students to have these experiences. All right, now go past the experience now and get to the chemistry. What did you learn about what happened when in that volcano experiment?
Gas and heat is given off.
What's the gas?
When you is it oxygen?
No, it's not.
Hydrogen?
No.
I don't know.
What's the gas? Remember. Who else wants to remind us of the gas?
CO2.
It's carbon dioxide. Okay. Now, what do you know about the chemistry of carbon dioxide, Samuel?
Yeah, if it about lime water.
All right, let's go. No, let's ask you some more specific questions. What about its solubility? Is it soluble?
CO2?
Yes.
Okay, what I know is if CO2 will be one of the products as you're asking, but the solubility, no.
It's not soluble.
No.
What do you know about carbonated drinks?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it is soluble.
Yes.
That's why a lot of the environmentalists are going crazy.
Yes.
Because the manufacturers are pumping their wastes into the ocean, and it's like affecting the ecosystem.
That's certainly one aspect of it. But if you think about carbonated drinks, that the sodas are sealed under pressure because of dissolved carbon dioxide. You know what happens when you open a can of soda and it fizzes? That fizzing is because the carbon dioxide is escaping. All right, so where am I going with this with tamarind? All right, so when you take the tamarind, which is acidic, and you put some baking soda in it, what you get is a chemical reaction. And that chemical reaction produces carbonic acid, which has a sweet taste, which is what you taste in the soda that you have. So the discrepant event might well be, I'm just thinking, that what you expect to take place when you add the baking soda to the tamarind drink. All right? What do they expect? It actually becomes much sweeter and very fizzy. And the question is why? Because the tamarind is acidic, they reacts with the baking soda to produce their carbon dioxide, which is soluble to produce this carbonic acid, which is sweet to taste. You see what I'm saying? So Ashley, your job is to get some tamarind and to try it and to see how it just how it works. And if that will improve your line in any way. The snag with that though is that as it is with sodas, you can't put the baking soda in it long in advance of having it, because of course it will fizz and it will go flat, just like how your carbonated soda will go flat.
Unless I have a sealed bottle.
Unless you have a sealed bottle.
Right.
Right? So that might well be, I just thought of that when you were talking about drink and so forth and so on, you know, a discrepant sort of event. And you could create so many things with it, you know, with your fruit juices and your acid-base reaction, lots of stuff there. But Anon, the bottom line though, in what we're trying to say here, is that the experience that students have becomes really very important for them as they learn. Just as you remember your volcano experience and you go right, but the experience outside of the conceptual understanding can become a barrier. So they remember the picture, but they didn't learn the concepts. So the teacher has to make the connection or help the students make the connections by asking the right questions so they learn the concepts. You don't want it to be so fancy that you don't get the concepts. Really, really, really important. All right. So in a nutshell then, what I want to say today is that we have looked pretty much, we had recapped what the lessons should look like. I wanted to give you a sort of background to sort of a foundation, really, to strengthen your foundation for writing your lesson plan and to integrate the 5E model in writing that lesson plan. Okay? I had wanted as well for you to look critically at what the lessons would incorporate, and we've looked at one plan, and there are a couple more online which I'm going to ask you to look at. And I wanted you to be able to share with me what you thought of as ideal. What are these ideal lessons that you have? And you've talked about engaging the learner and as really important from the perspective of teaching and learning. And we've looked at one very good way to engage the learner through the use of discrepant events, looking at the theory behind it and looking at how it is that we can, in fact, use them as a part of our lesson introductions in particular. Now, we spent some time looking at the importance then of teaching concepts. And I want you to spend some time looking at the various concept teaching models as you go into your practicum. So in other words, what I've just shared with you is not just for this course, but is to take you through into your practicum to look at various possibilities. Now for Thursday, which is our last class, we're going to do a couple things for Thursday. Now those instructions which I gave you online, instructions for the last week, we have done a couple of them. But because of how you are, I know you're stretched. I wanted to do something, but I don't know that you're going to be able to do so before. So I'll do it in class on Thursday. I will just use the time a little bit more creatively. But there are some videos that are online that you perhaps should look at. There are the 3 lesson plans that I wanted to, have a familiarity with before you come. And there's a video on passive learning, and there's a video on chemistry. Short videos, less than 10 minutes. We want to look at those 2 lessons, and there are a couple more which I will show you when we come on Thursday. Short introductions. All right. So I want you to look at the 2 videos. Look at the 3 lesson plans. All right. There's a video on passive learning and there's a video on chemistry. Look at those for me. And look at the lesson plans. We're going to tie this up on Thursday. And if you look at what I had uploaded a little Word file on instructions for the last week. There are some questions that I want you to pay attention to as you look at the videos. Use that as your guide to view the videos. Are we clear?
Crystal.
Crystal clear. Excellent. All right. Well, we don't have much more time. We only have 1 more class, but I'm pretty sure that we will get through this without losing our minds. We'll be fine. All right, we'll be good. And I will see you guys, hopefully and prayerfully, next week. Dominica first and then St. Lucia. And then I'll see you all from Bermuda the first week in September.
I'm sorry, you said just the 2 videos on passive learning, you said?
No, there's one on passive learning and there's one on chemistry.
Okay, thank you. Yep, I see him. Thanks.
2 videos. All right.
One last question, Dr. Rainford.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've been doing assignments and stuff for our coursework.
Yes.
Does this we have a final exam?
No,
and
this
when
course,
and when?
No, this course is never fun. It does, but I reorganized it so as not to create any additional stress. So you will not do a final exam for this course. You may have for Dr. Lee Platt's course.
Yeah.
You do
okay.
have. All right.
Yes.
So what I did was to redo the assignment, do it slightly differently, so as to get you through in a more formative sort of way than summative. Yes.
Okay. So that's the last assignment we have for you.
That's it. That's it. Yeah,
okay.
that's it.
I really appreciate. I must say, I really appreciate it, especially to take our presentations and stuff into consideration, because I mean, yes, it has to be done, but I know time and and I'm happy that you realize the extent of the pressure. I mean, we know that the course is challenging, and I'm trying to get through as much as possible. But I appreciate what you did. So I have that off my head now, so I can move forward. So thank you.
The most important thing for me is that you interact with the materials and you really spend some time reading through and really internalizing it. Because as I have said, it really is about practice. It's about helping you to see the possibilities for teaching. And I want you to get it. All right? So the process is important for me as well. So spend some time doing the reading. Remember now, you have to spend some of your independent time online doing the reading, because we can't get through all of it in the time. But we can, in fact, you are required to do some additional reading, and I've put it there for you to read. All right. So see you on Thursday then.
Lots for that. Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.